Recording.
Hi, everyone. This is the September 15th, 2015 IPython Jupyter developer meeting. Let's get going. I guess I was first on the agenda. Not much to report on my side. I was in DC all of last week in Washington for DOE business. I did have a meeting at the National Academies where I gave a presentation about the project. It was interesting, but it was mostly kind of a general talk. But I was mostly off on other DOE business, so not much to report. And I didn't even make the meeting. I'll catch up with Matthias later today. I just got back from DC, so I'm plugging back in.
Yeah, so Python 3.5 is out. Try it. It's on Conda already. You can create an environment with 3.5. I hope that Python 3 will be used a lot in scientific community before 3.7, so that we get rid of too quickly. I did a talk at LBL. It went great, but I didn't have many questions because it was just before lunch, so people rushed to the lunch and the keynote. I mostly work on issue triage, tagging, closing. Jupyter Notebook 4.1 has only 26 issues left before being released. I would like some help. I already have had some help this morning. And following a private conversation we had by mail with some people, I worked a bit on accessibility. And in recent browsers, you have a voice recognition API, and in a like 40 line, you can get something where you can code using your voice in the notebook. It's still a bit clunky because it's not made to spell; it's made to actually write correct English. And of course, I have really a lot of difficulties to make it work because my English accent is really bad, and the computer does not recognize what I'm saying. But otherwise, it kind of works, and I think it might be useful even for just non-accessibility, say things like run all cells and everything. Of course, then your computer listens to you all the time and might even send things to Google, but you have to weigh the pros and cons. And one question is, do we create an everybody team that have read access to all the repo so that we can assign anyone to any issues? Because for now, we can only assign people that have commit access to repository. And I just did that. The student group from Cal Poly have 5 people in it. I gave them read access to the notebook, which basically changed nothing because
these are public repos anyway.
But then it allowed to actually assign people with assign drop down, but only people with write access can assign. But you can still assign. I think it's.
I don't see any downsides. Does anybody see any downside to that?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Okay, so we can try to do that this afternoon, so that you can just in the morning go to the issues and look at only the things that are assigned to you and do that cross report. Great. Chris, next.
Right. So moving along with Phosphor, we released up until the cutoff of yesterday, included in this list, we released 5 new Phosphor repos. Section list is a low-level data structure that's probably not of interest to too many people, but it helps with dealing with implementing virtual scrolling controls where you have a large number of things that are all the same size and a small, sparse set of things that are variable size, and you want to query that data set for position and size and offsets and all that kind of stuff. Released Phosphor Stacked Panel, which is a layout widget which has one child widget visible at a time. That's used by the next repo, which is Phosphor Tabs. That includes a tab bar widget along with the tab bar or the tab panel widget, and obviously the tab object. Making notebook style tabs, that's now out and available. All of those things are then consumed by the dock panel repo, which gives us our nice flexible docking tab panel layout. So that's now out and available for use and built on all of the new architecture that we've been working on for the last month or so. And then the last one on the list there is grid panel. There seemed to be a lot of interest in the grid stack project thing that the IBM guys were demoing. So I went ahead and used a lot of Phosphor already to create a grid panel layout class, which does the same types of layouts that you get from GridStack. It's not interactive yet, but it's built in a way that we can bolt an interactive tool on top of it. So that's I'll write that in the future soon in the coming days. But the actual layout widget is there and usable today. So if you wanted to lay out the main parts of your application using a structured grid type layout, we can do that now, and it's quite fast. So that's it from me.
Who is next?
Guess I'm next.
Thanks.
Worked with Chris and Min a lot on the refactor of kernel and session, and Min helped me get that tested against a live notebook server. There's still a couple of small cross-origin problems that need to be ironed out, but most of that is now fully tested, including on Travis, without using Casper.js. It uses Karma Firefox browser instead. And then this week, we've been heatedly battling the API for what the COM object should look like. So there's a link there for that issue open right now, trying to clean that up, wrap our brains around what that should look like. And then once that's done, I'm going to go back and try to clean up the interfaces to the the config and the contents objects and fold those into the integration tests against the live notebook server as well. And that's about it.
So Damian,
Not here.
not here. Oh, he just joined. Damian, do you have audio today? Can we hear you? Is he in the chat?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there you are.
Right. I have no voice, but
Oh, we can hear you.
okay. Thanks.
You were next on the agenda. We don't see anything on the hackpad from you. Anything to report?
No, essentially, I was reviewing some PRs in several reports and working in some internal things in Continuum. But
Okay,
no more.
perfect.
And next is
David?
Next, yeah. Can you hear me yet?
Yeah, we can.
Yep. So last week put together a demo app showing the commands and menu generation and the key map stuff working together. Chris and Steve reviewed it, got some feedback from that, and we're currently splitting it up into different repos. Going to take some of the more sort of concrete parts of the application, put it in a Phosphor app repo, so it's all next to each other, and everything else in separate repos. So currently doing the delegate command, putting final unit tests on the PR for that. That's it.
So this is for the command, the idea of the command palette. I'm trying to piece together the map in my head of where this is going. This is the part of the work on the command palette.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually you're trying to break apart the core kernel of idea of what a command is so that we can reuse that abstract idea across things like generating menu bars and menu items from a shared resource. So for example, if you have a single page application that's built with a bunch of plugins, we need to guard access to the shared single menu bar for the application. And a lot of these plugins are going to want to specify, contribute menu items in the form of some JSON declaration or JSON specification that might trigger commands that are defined by their plugin or defined by another plugin. And so we're trying to separate out these kernel of an idea of what a command is and how that should be represented in the system from how we define how we generate menus and menu items from these commands, along with how keyboard shortcuts can be registered to also trigger these commands in a way that's both shared and context specific for a particular state of the application.
Okay. Nick?
Yep. Hey guys. So I've been was out on vacation and it was lovely. But 3 jobs. So just some small stuff on Watermark, which is a nice little thing for generating a little tombstone for what your system looked like. There's some interest in that in Continuum and elsewhere for benchmarking stuff and things like that. Trying to get some of that stuff moved into metadata. So it's something that you could search across a bunch of notebooks. Just kind of following after Matthias on some of the NBViewer stuff that he's flagging and weighing in on a few of those things. And then I haven't actually been able to get to do much stuff on the 4.0 IPy widgets. And so I'm porting some stuff that I've been working on to use that. And I got a bunch of help from John on that. That was great. Not sure where I'm going next, but I assume I'll have some more tasking soon.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, did you ever post your work? Like, is the widget stuff that you were doing available online? I'd like to check it out.
I know, it's not yet. So a quick rundown there is that basically this thing, kind of in line with some of that Tangle stuff that I've been working on, every time that you render Markdown, it goes and looks for things in there, and I haven't got the natural language piece in there yet, but turning annotations that you create specifically or ones that I want to get to where they're algorithmic, creating those as widgets so that you can use those widgets in other places. And so it's that storytelling piece that I've been working on for a while, and it's very close, but I just wanted to get it into 4.0 and all that stage yet. But it's got some widget persistence issues in maintaining all that stuff properly in the metadata, because if you go in and spend a lot of effort annotating some text, you don't want to have that disappear. You want to be able to send that to somebody. So, but yes, it will be up soon.
So I think I'm next. Last week, I spent some time separating the COM manager and the notebook from the widget manager, which allows people to implement their own widget manager and reuse our widget framework outside of the notebook. This is part of our effort to componentize different pieces of the project. I also, in the process, my computer crashed. It was my fault. I deleted my Python 2 installation. So I had to reinstall Linux on one of my machines. And this was like the 5th or 6th time that I've had to do like a complete development stall of Jupyter. And it's really painful, like even with these little batch files that clone stuff for you automatically, like the way that I have my environment set up, it takes me a while to do it. It's still like a lot of iterating. So I went ahead and wrote a tool that you guys can use if you need to install a development version of Jupyter. It should assist with the cloning and the forking and adding your remotes and updating. And I would love feedback for that. That's under the Jovian organization, which is kind of one of these side organizations that Sylvan and Jason, I think, started, and Kyle. I also, last week, let's see, where am I on the list? I also started the input area work. I pinged Jason Grout in a conversation that I had on Friday because he was interested in kind of being involved with that. I created a little scratch pad inside the repository with an idea of roughly where I want to go with that. And today and yesterday, I've been at Cal Poly. And this week, I'm going to continue with the input area work. Oh, and I'm going to help Matthias, too, with the issues. That's it for me.
You all know that it's because you want the 5.0 branch to start and merge your...
Yeah, the more I help, the more it benefits me. So, yes.
Yeah, and I guess it will also help to start putting all the phosphorus pieces into the notebook.
That's, excuse my awkward headphones. I forgot my headphones when I came up from Los Angeles, so I'm wearing sleep headphones. They're like it's like a headband. It's got really thin speakers. Like I'm a really light sleeper, so I sleep with these headphones. So that's why it looks like I have a workout band in my head.
Cool. So I was curious, why did you write dev install in Node?
Oh, just for fun.
Okay.
Or pain or practice. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about doing it in Go actually, because I wanted a project to start to learn Go, but I don't know, stuck with something familiar, which I shouldn't have.
Cool. Yeah, just curious. All right. Oberon, anything? Is Oberon around? John, you're at Cal Poly. Is Oberon around? Can you?
No, he's on vacation. Yeah, he's on vacation.
All right. Ryan?
Yeah. So I basically continued work on the new Traitlets API and had conversations with Sylvan about generalizing the descriptors at validate, which is the replacement for the magic method _name. Validate was merged, and I implemented all of the decorators from the new API into Matplotlib with one minor issue, which I have yet to figure out. Yeah, that's all I have to say, though.
But by and large, the Matplotlib kind of acceptance of the Traitlets machinery is going well?
Yeah, so far, the general acceptance, I think ultimately it's really going to come down to, at this point, the general API they like. At this point, it really comes down to what the performance is going to look like when everything is in. And once we have a real test of performance.
Do you have performance benchmarks that will allow you to measure the before and after? Basically, run performance benchmarks on a repo on a branch that has pre and post.
Unfortunately, Matplotlib really doesn't have any performance benchmarks. The best thing that there is right now would really just be the test suite, like to run the entire test suite and see how long it takes.
Have a look at airspeed velocity. Airspeed velocity, something like.
Airspeed. Yeah, we've talked briefly about that, but I think that's because not everything is implemented yet. I think that would be something that I do afterwards. But yeah, I think it'll probably, as soon as I get Travis to pass it should be merged.
Okay. Cool.
All right, I guess it's my turn. This week I was fixing up most of the stuff on the website. Basically, this week I was working with Oberon on a cool T3 visualization that we're going to do for like kind of to show how we operate with the community and how everybody kind of contributes. Yeah, you'll see it. It's going up today.
Cool.
And I also added another section on the About page for the steering council to basically say who they are. Made it less of a in the forefront, kind of emphasizing the community section more so. So the user gets that across. Next, today, I'm hoping to start redesigning the blog page to make it unified with the theme of the website. So it feels like it's just integrated straight into the website. And lastly, over the past week, I've been working with Brian to make a new windowed interface this is still rough and we're still figuring out how we want to approach this, but we're kind of using that, I don't know, the windowed interface and seeing how we'll do full screen versus having multiple things. I'm just really talking to users of the notebook and taking away what they want their experience to be. So that's pretty much my week. So, yeah.
Cute. Is Simon around?
Simon isn't here. I don't see him in the office. But
okay.
Yeah.
Min.
Yeah, so I finally put together at least the starting point for the migration document for migrating from IPython 3 to 4, and Brian and Carol helped review that, but I'm sure there's now a place for if we're getting more repeating questions, we can add more information to that.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
I think the main one that keeps coming up is the notion of profiles. And the confusion of, am I configuring IPython or am I configuring Jupyter? And that used to be, depending on your perspective, either not confusing or extra confusing because you used to configure both, and now you can only configure one at a time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that is harder to, not as obvious. So we'll probably need to refine that bit of information a lot. and over again. I've also been working, helping Matthias with the issue triage and, keeping track of what issues that we're going to try to fix for 4.1 and mostly on the Jupyter Notebook repo and a little bit on some of the other repos. Now that we have the incubation and enhancement proposal repos up, we're getting proposals left and right. And I'm not sure I'm not sure quite what attention is being paid to those. There's one of them is an enhancement proposal to redefine what a notebook is. That will probably be a significant conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think maybe that didn't get pinged to the mailing list, so we should make sure that happens. Yeah, and then other than that, various little projects, reviewing issues, fixing bugs, and working with Chris and Steve on the services repo, which I think is coming along pretty well with some tricky bits, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, this is the one from, wow, this is pretty elaborate. This one from Conrad Hinson. Yeah, it makes me realize one thing that we probably are going to need to set up actually now that we have a more formal process for enhancement proposals as pull requests is an easy way to see the rendered version. That is nice.
There's just a button on GitHub.
Okay.
If it's a Markdown document, you can just click it.
Never mind. Yep, never mind.
That would have been nice provided text in the PR itself to explain some of it, but yeah.
This one's pretty elaborate. While I was traveling, I saw in passing Conrad's blog posts. I didn't have time to reply because I had a horrible agenda, but I saw the discussion. Okay.
Yeah, that's all for me.
Cool. Sophia?
Okay, so as of yesterday, I'm officially full-time on Jupyter. Yay!
Wonderful. Congratulations. We're delighted to have you.
Yes. Yesterday I spent some time working on adding an API spawn endpoint to the temp and p redirector. There's the pull request or the issue for that on the hackpad. Had a few prickly points with that, but it's like, I want to say 15% to completion. Also set up tests on Jupyter.js output area. It's good enough to submit a PR on, which I'll probably do later today. Today, my focus is getting some of the issues that I kind of took on for the Jupyter Notebook 4.1 release done. And maybe wrapping up the API spawn endpoint if I can get to it before I get frustrated with all things programming.
Okay.
But that's it.
Cool. Kyle?
Yeah, I don't really have any major work. I've done mostly like advising and little tiny PRs here and there. I'm mostly busy with Rackspace stuff at the moment.
Cool. No problem. Is Will around? Nope. Okay. Peter.
Like Kyle said, I've been sucking up some of his time, but thanks, Kyle. Have been working on the Docker stack still, accepting some pull requests, contributions to the community around allowing user IDs to change and not having things hard-coded and sort of refactoring around that. Did some work a couple days ago around rebasing the tempmb Docker demo image on the Docker Stacks minimal notebook so that hopefully if all this pans out, there's just, one base notebook image to maintain that people can pull and use, and then the temp.b image is just based on top of that. And as part of doing that, actually move some of the branding information around so that, when people want to run it on their own, they can, put their own branding on it or pick and choose what pieces they want from the config, like, what domain it's going to run on, instead of having to rebuild it all from scratch and hitting all the build errors people keep reporting. It's not quite ready yet, Kyle. I got to address some of Kyle's points that he left in the pull requests, and some of the bits that work in IPython 3.2 or whatever versions currently rolled out temp.b are not yet working in 4.0, like the iHaskell widgets. Sounds like a release is pending there, but it's not quite there yet. Beyond that, I put out a proposal for the kernel gateway. It's mostly a discussion piece, and I put it over in the Google group, so welcome any feedback on that. That's been done with brainstorming with Kyle and some others over in a hackpad. Just moved it over, so it's a little more formal discussion now. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
This Dan on the phone.
Dan, go ahead.
Okay, just a short update. As in addition to what Peter's doing, we're working on the 3 proposals, incubation proposals to cover what we demoed a couple weeks ago. So we should have those out by the end of the week. We'll get those all the pull requests in for all 3 of those.
Great, thanks. And thanks, folks, for your patience. It took a couple days to get, or more than a few days to get through the incubation setup. But now that that's all out, it's great to have you guys kind of pushing through the process, and hopefully we'll get those out and reviewed and integrated quickly. Thank you.
Yep, it's time well spent, Fernando. I mean, the incubation process, I think, is nicely documented. I think it's time well spent.
Thank you. Gino, I think you're up next.
Hey guys, yeah. So let's see. Continue working on the declarative widget stuff. We're cleaning up code and getting ready to submit a formal proposal and put the code out there on a repo for people to check it out. One of the most interesting things that we've done in the past couple of weeks have been we're concentrating on how to do scenarios where there's streaming analytics happening in the notebook. So, we do a lot of work with Spark and Spark streaming. And so we're trying to enable our widgets to be able to push data from the kernel over to the widgets on the page. And so we're creating a very lightweight API so that you can actually affect some of the binding variables that you use in the declarative fashion from actually calling code in Python or in Scala from the kernel.
Have you been talking to Jason and Sylvan about this at all?
We haven't, but I'm open to if anybody reach out to me, and I'll reach out to them, and we'll continue the conversation. We had some brief conversations after the demonstrations, but those kind of fizzled last week.
Yeah. Jason and Sylvan, are you guys on the call?
Yeah, I think we both are.
Okay, because I would imagine you've had a lot of thoughts on that as well, right? Yep. And
excited to see your code, and excited to see the proposal.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Talking about me, I guess I'm next. I was busy a lot with Bloomberg stuff, but worked a little bit more on governance stuff and a little bit more on catching up with the Phosphor repos that Chris has been releasing.
Cool. Okay, do we have anyone else? I think Matthias added Kester. Are you around? And maybe Sylvan, do we have anyone else who may have anything else to report?
Hi.
Pitch in?
Yeah, I just came to catch up on what's been going on. I didn't have anything in particular to report. I might have missed out on Matthias's thing straight up, but that's fine.
Okay. How about you, Sylvan? Anything that you want to pitch in? Ouch! Echo. Ouch. Sylvan?
That was me. Sorry about that. Turn it up.
Should we mute ourselves?
I don't think so.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about the echo.
Just one of you.
Yeah, I worked a bit on Tracelets with Ryan. I think there are still a couple of questions to be sorted before we can release a new version of it. So besides that, I've been mostly working on other internal stuff at Bloomberg, so nothing much on my side.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Okay.
So one of the questions was, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the questions was whether we should change the observe handler methods to expand the dictionary rather than having a single dictionary attribute. So I think we decided for the latter at first, and so Ryan was saying that the new API was a bit cumbersome, and maybe we should switch back to expanding the dictionary into the signature with ** change. So if anyone has any feedback on this idea, I think it would be a good time.
Is there an open PR on this or an open issue on this or any pointer that you want us to write down on the hackpad for people to?
There is the main Tracelets API issue that's been open for a while, and it's been updated as PRs have been opened, and there is a question on that in the end. So
okay.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
All right. Someone seems to be taking notes on that number. All right. Okay. Did we leave anyone out? Last call for pitching in, or are there any other topics? We have a little bit of time. So any other? Simon. Hello.
Hey. Oh. Should I go, or was somebody else wanting to speak?
Simon just showed up. We had skipped over him, so I don't know. Simon, do you want to pitch in and report?
Sure. So for the past week, I've been working on basically making a demo with Phosphor to integrate a whole bunch of things. So I've been working with Chris a little bit on that. And I'm probably going to end up switching to, he just released the grid layout. So I'll probably use that instead of grid stack for what I'm doing. So basically I'm trying to integrate like, polymer components, bootstrap, etc., to just show that pretty much everything can work together with Phosphor nicely.
Okay. Okay.
I was just gonna say on Min's comments about proposals maybe going unnoticed for a little bit. Is everyone okay with me setting up a quick IFT to send an email out to the mailing list every time there's a pull request on the proposals repos?
On the you mean on the incubator or on the enhancement? Yeah, that's a good idea. That's the kind of repo that we probably want to flag always up to the mailing list. Okay. That particular one.
We can maybe have something daily more than if ever we get 3 proposals a day at some point. Maybe not every time.
Okay.
Try to batch things a bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're not going to get more than more. If we ever get 3 Jupyter enhancement proposals a day, we're in trouble. But flagging activity on that specific repo or on the incubator repo. Those are 2 repos that are sort of where activity on those needs to be signaled. Well, the incubator one is specifically, we said, actually part of the process on that one is specifically says when you submit something to this one, it should be signaled up onto the mailing list. But same thing with enhancement proposals. That's a good idea.
Yep, I will set that up.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, then I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everyone. Recording